Hello traders and welcome to today's market update. My name is Nick and I'm going to be taking a look at the foreign exchange market with you this morning, taking a look at major levels, structure points, key ideas, and all sorts of other good stuff. Let's go ahead and jump into today's market update, starting with, as always, euro dollar. We're looking at euro dollar on the 4-hour time frame. As we had talked about this week, we did get some sort of a continuation here of this recent move we've been seeing unfolding on the euro dollar, right? So what we saw is we saw some rally start here on Sunday, and that's exactly what we saw continue as the markets opened up, and we see right now that we are currently starting to chop around. Now what if I just grab this shape here? You can see if I just go ahead and draw in some structure points, what you can see here with the euro is currently we found kind of a recent top, right? We found some resistance up in this area. We came back, we retested it, and the shorts took over there, pushed price back down. And now we are actually finding ourselves in kind of a ranging kind of area of support and resistance. So price is being supported off of these lows and rejected off of these highs. So how do we go forward with this? Well, euro dollar could be headed either direction, but we would like to look for, in one case, some sort of continuation, break, retest, potential idea, right? So if we do see a movement to the downside, right? If we break through that structure that had previously been support, right? If we break through that on this next run, well, there's a good chance that if we get a retest, sellers will want to control that area again and buyers won't be able to hold it, right? Kind of demand becoming a supply zone, right? Support becoming resistance. Same thing on the top side. If we do see an explosion in the euro, right? If we see a big movement to the upside, we could wait for some sort of retest, as we often see. Look for a long position on the bounce, right? So just an idea there on euro dollar, again on the 4-hour time frame. If we back it up to the daily, you can see overall in the context still of a strong downtrend. And if we draw this trend line here, you can see currently kind of some interesting stuff going on. Again, we're kind of chopping around, so there's nothing super decisive going on at this very moment. But if we do see a strong break or close above this trend line, we may see some continuation from the bulls to try and start a new trend here. Pound dollar is the next one we're going to take a look at here, guys. We have a multiple bottom low that we are seeing unfolding on the charts right now. If I zoom in just a little bit, you can see what I'm talking about. We do have kind of an interesting ranging market, similar to how we just got done talking about euro dollar. We've been seeing multiple bottom lows here on the pound as price has been kind of being held by the bulls in this area, and bears are currently taking a break from their selling pressure. Now, similarly, we have a sell zone at the top here. You can see multiple times where price has been rejected, right around this area. You can see we saw some rejection there from sellers. We also saw it here. And now as price comes into this lower zone, the question is going to be, can buyers hold this zone and continue this kind of channeling market that we've seen, or are we going to see an actual break below? Now, if we're looking for a break below, if you're a bear on the pound, what we could wait for is some sort of close underneath that recent low, right? So this is our low. We've seen this price react bullishly a couple times previously. If we do break that, if we do reject that area, we would probably want to see some sort of close, right? Envision some sort of red, make believe here with me that this is a red candle, right? If we see it close underneath and that's significant, well, that might be an indication that the pound is not done selling off, and we may be able to get in on some sort of retest or kind of retracement and join that trend to the downside. That's just an opportunity there on the pound. Now, on the flip side, I think that there is a good chance, however, looking at this market, that we do see some sort of continuation of this channel, simply because the market has been in kind of a downtrend mode and now is in kind of a sideways trending mode, which a lot of times you see that continue for some time as prices will consolidate before making a move higher or lower. So good chance, in my opinion, that we see some sort of a bounce off of these recent lows on the pound. Okay, so the next one we're going to look at is USDJPY, forming a really interesting little setup here in terms of kind of another halted pair, right? So we did see some strong bearishness on the USDJPY, and now finding kind of this barrier. You can see right around this area down here at the lows, we have seen a multiple bottom kind of retracement, right? So as price is coming into this area again, should be interesting to see what we get. So right around the 105.8281 area, we have seen kind of an interesting little setup, right? So we saw price reject sharply off of this level, right? So we saw a strong bounce, that green bar there. We also saw a nice bullish pin bar form right here and got some sort of reaction there. Now price has been very choppy, so we consolidated back down to the lows and currently are trading towards the lows of this range. So going to be interesting to see if we can hold that level again, or if sellers are going to break it and continue. If you're a seller, you probably want to wait to see if price can break underneath and close underneath this significant bottom. If we see that, we may see a continuation push to the next level of support, which if we backed up to the daily, you can't really see anything too close. But if we look at the weekly, you can see that we do have this very long-term level down here, which is not out of the question that if price starts to kind of fall through these recent levels, that we make our way down towards that. Brent crude is our next one, guys. Brent crude, interesting enough, it's been selling off very strongly, but I do want to talk about something on the 1 hour today on Brent crude, and that is if we take this trend line, you can see price is breaking through that short-term trend line, so maybe some opportunities here on the intraday side of things. Short term, we may see some continuation or break of this trend line to potentially form some sort of new trend or some sort of spike to the upside. Now you can see price did break through that trend line, and you can see if I draw it up clean, you can see we did kind of retest that area, found support, and continuation higher. So WTI crude is the next one. Excuse me. And WTI crude has a similar structure. If you can see on the 4 hour time frame, we can also draw the trend line here a little bit cleaner. Actually, you can see on the 4 hour time frame, we did get that kind of slow chatter down, right? We saw some strong pushes, some retracements, some pushes, and now we are seeing some interesting stuff happen on this chart. You can see we did break above that trend line level of resistance. Again, trends can't last forever, guys, and in this particular case, the oil trend looks like it potentially is closing and a new trend or even choppy market environment is starting here. The next one is going to be gold. Now, gold has been, again, a hot topic, still moving strongly to the upside. And as we've talked about on multiple streams now or videos, we've talked about the fact that continuation of gold in this trend was something that we were talking about, right? So as price continued, now we kind of have a trend line here that I do want to draw. You can see if price does come back to this trend line, may look for some opportunities on the intraday scale or even on the swing trade basis if we get a good setup. Now, what you can see is that we did get a significant breakout on gold. You can see this kind of recent high. We closed above it and have seen some continuation since. Again, gold is one of those things that I always mention continues to trend very strongly a lot of the time, right? So a lot of continuation on things like gold, especially with recent market environments. We've seen some really craziness on gold and on oil and all sorts of other kind of volatility-based things that react big to emotions, right? So USD Canadian is going to be our next one, guys. We are seeing an interesting, simple setup here on this particular market. You can see this trend line holding pretty nicely historically on the 4 hour time frame, looking to see if we see some sort of jump off of this trend line. Now, there are some levels to also look for. Of course, if you are potentially considering getting long, you may want to look to get out of the trade right around these recent highs, as we have seen some sharp rejection off of there, showing some sort of potential sell zone in play. That is just one example there. There are more kind of sell zones if you pull back to the daily and the weekly, but I think another thing to consider here is to look just briefly at this zone here. So if price comes down to this area, might also be an interesting little pickup in terms of a buy position, just because this has been a kind of significant, price action based level based on some of the reversals that we see. Dollar Swiss is the next one. Similar structure to USDJPY. You can see that we do have some sort of an interesting little pattern here forming, which is going to be, you can see we kind of have the context of a little wedge formation forming here. Now, it's not perfect, but you can see kind of what I'm talking about. You can see that we do have kind of price forming kind of some consolidation there, and we may see a big break up or down from there, and potentially could join in on a retracement. Now, EURUSD is going to be our last one, guys, and this is one that I do want to talk about because I think we are entering a zone of big interest, right? You can see that this long-term sell zone is going to be an interesting one to watch. Price has been bullishly pushing up and up and up on the euro pound for quite some time, but we are currently entering an area where we see heavy sell pressure in, kind of historic times. We did get some big rejection off of this level twice now. And so coming into this level now, are we going to see a similar structure? Should be interesting to see how it plays out, guys. I will be back with you guys with updates in the future. Thanks so much for joining me, and we will catch you on the next one.